Mashiach is always in the bashmutzadika place. Did you ever notice that? It's always down there, which means that's what Hashem wants us to look and see, that in every one, even the darkest place, there is some kernel of goodness that needs to be extracted, some ore. That's what Hashem wants us to do. And by the way, you want to talk about on a psychological level, that means that whatever matzav you're going through, no matter how disturbing, upsetting, children go through, and people go through illness, and they go through problems of divorce, and families breaking up, and problems with children, and problems with parnosa, and problems with every kind of thing. Aliyah, adjustment disorder. It's what most I deal with that regularly. You know what that is? Aliyah adjustment disorder? People who think they're still in America. Yeah. There's a denial of the fact that they've changed cultures and societies. And they think they're going to get treated the same way as they got treated over there. Rude awakening.
They think they're going to change Israel too.
And they're going to change Israel. Right.
That's the worst.
Right. That's called a delusional disorder. No, but truthfully, Americans have a tremendous amount to teach and offer, and we are making a difference. I believe we are making a difference. But people have to understand just how small the entire American cross section is in Israel. Powerful, but small. You know how small? How many Jews made Aliyah since the beginning of the founding of the state of Israel? Do you know how many? Take a guess. You want to pick a number? 100,000.
What?
100,000.
That's it?
Yeah, think about it. Every year, 2,000 people drip in. And it's been 48 years. Makes sense, no? And in the early years, it wasn't even that much. And how many went back? But there are many who set roots here and have dorei doros, except they integrated in. You don't know where they are right now, but they might have an American grandfather or grandmother or something. But it's still, what do you want to say generously? It's a couple 100,000 people? There's 250,000 people? Out of what? Out of what? 6 million? Maybe.
But in recent times, it's primarily from the Western culture that's coming in.
Well, the French is a different story. I'm not talking about the French. The French is a different story, but they also, what has come here, if you want to say there are somewhere between 5 and 6 million Jews in America, historically, right? So what's 100,000? What percent is that? Do the math. In order to get 10%, you'd have to have 600,000 people coming, right? We've got a sixth of 10%. So that's what? Less than 2%. What? Between 1 and 2%. Right. And it's the same from France. The big Aliyah from France. 2,500 people. 6,000 people. Because they're mamish tzittering, So they're coming. Oh, wow. Wow. It went up to 1%. 1%, there were 600,000 Jews in France, right? If 6,000 Jews come, right, what is that? 1%. Thank you. That's what came. 99% didn't come. So we can't lose the larger picture. We have an important role to play. And every one single Jew and every one single family can have enormous impact. But we have to have our perspective. And the perspective is that the ones who might be the most important are the ones that are often likely to be shunned or rejected, just like Yosef was completely shunned by his brothers, to the extent that they thought he was a danger that had to be done away with completely. Right? And this is the guy that's going to save our skin. So what's the practical lesson? Be smart. Look around you in your approach to the Jewish world and your approach to other Jews in particular. Don't be so quick to reject anybody. Look within those quote-unquote people who are the furthest away and say, holy cow, that could be the person that saves us. It's a different way of looking at the world as opposed to it's us versus us against others. I think that's a big danger here in Eretz Yisrael. It's a big danger everywhere, but in particular in Eretz Yisrael, because we can create tribes. In America, you need to cobble together all the different flavors to just make one shul, because we don't have enough to go around. Here we can fight for government resources to get this one and this taksiv and that taksiv. There's money. There's power. There's land. There's property. There's what to get. There's what to fight about. Right? There's what to fight about. It's a lot to fight about. Okay. So you'll ask me what the relevance is. First of all, the relevance is to get clear. What is Hashem telling us? And once you get the general principles, then you can apply it down into your life. You start to think of yourself, holy cow, I got to fight machlokas. I got to be a voice against machlokas. We need moderation. If I see leaders that are abusing their position to talk negatively about other Jews, right, to put them down, or I have to be a voice against that. I have to at least be a demonstration of against that, right? I have to promote Ahavas Yisrael to no matter who. Okay, now, that being said, we love the Jews, we don't love what they do. We also have to equally battle what they do. So if they're promoting an agenda that's against Torah, you battle the agenda, but you don't battle them. What they're, it's like a child. It's like raising a child. You never tell the child that the child is bad, but you say what they're doing is not okay. You have to separate the child from the behavior, right? And that would be just because they're behaving differently doesn't mean that they're not your child, or your brother, or your sister. This is a big, big, big problem. Okay, but what I wanted to show here, let's not get too bogged down, is that there was this mysterious 5 garments and 300 shekels. I want to go a little deeper into what this meant. What is the Torah teaching us here? What are Chazal teaching us here? Okay, so there was a Yerushalmi. The Gemara Yerushalmi says that Esav had also had special garments. It wasn't only Binyamin. Garments were garments. Again, a throwback to a previous generation. What was the garment? It says that V'tikach Rivka's bigdei Esav b'no hagadol hachamudos asher ita b'bayis v'tilbashis Yaacov b'no hakatan. It wasn't only Yosef who had this whole story with garments. It started with Yaakov. And you can understand a little bit, and I want to understand what Yaakov did. Why did he give Yosef that extra garment? Because it was part of his own experience that he was giving over. Much like Yosef was teaching Binyamin that he had an important role to play. You remember it says that they cried on each other's shoulders? They were crying about Mishkan Shiloh, right? But Binyamin had an even higher role, because Binyamin is where Yerushalayim would be, right? He has a portion of Yerushalayim. Ephraim only has a portion of Shiloh, right? It's in Ephraim. But Binyamin has a strip of land, as we'll see, that goes all the way down to Yehuda. So that's the communication. You have a role to play. Now, it was also the same thing by Rivka. Rivka took Esav's begadim and gave it to Yaakov. What garments were they? Which were they? What? So he says, Hachamudos shahaya mishamish bekuhuna gedola. There are two pirushim here. One, the Medrash Rabbi Bereishis says that he took them from Asher Chamad Osan min Nimrod. He stole them from Nimrod. And who got it back from Nimrod? Esav. Esav kills Nimrod. That's a great mitzvah. Nimrod was the arch enemy of who? His Zaidi, Avram Avinu. Can you imagine the great thing? You take your Zaidi's arch enemy and you kill him, and you bring back the garment of Adam Harishon. What was the purpose of the garment of Adam Harishon? That's the same katanot or that were given to Adam and Chava after they sinned, so that they could maintain their control over the animal world, right? And that's the same terminology used about the beged of the Kohanim. It's the same idea. What's the idea? The idea that man, after his sin, right, has to have tshuva and kapara. And that's the role of a Kohen, to reconnect those that have sinned with Hashem. Isn't that what a Kohen does? He brings karbanos so that Klal Yisrael will have slicha, mechila, and kapara. The idea is kapara. And the first Kohen was Adam HaRishon himself. He was given clothing by Hashem to cover his nakedness, to cover his Yetzer Hara with which he sinned, right? And he covered him up and he says, you have to now rise above this Yetzer Hara and serve me. And that's your job, to serve me, to subjugate your will to my will, and to reconnect with me so you don't fall into your own interests and separate from me and just pursue your own wants and goals. I want to raise you up to the level of a malach, right? You have to dress yourself. You have to be mechanech yourself, chinuch. You have to dedicate yourself. This was the original garment that Adam gave to Adam. Adam gave it to Noach, and it was stolen by Nimrod. Who's Nimrod? He was the rebellion against Hashem. He rebelled against Hashem by being involved in two major wars. Wars on God. One was what? What did Nimrod do? Besides trying to kill Avraham, which would have ruined the whole thing, because Avram was chosen by Hashem to save the world. If Nimrod is successful in burning Avram alive, it's the same thing as if Haman is successful, finished. You're destroying the Jewish people, the world is done. If Nimrod is successful in getting away with Avram in microcosm, then the world is done. Same story. It's the same story over and over again. But where is that garment? It was stolen by Nimrod, retrieved by Esav. How do you like that?
What's the other rebellion?
The Tower of Babel.
Oh, Babel.
In which Hashem, but they really wanted to fight God and say, we're going to be in control of the world. You stay up there. We're going to be in charge down here. Your will, Hashem, has no, world. There's no point in the world. And they were extremely united, right? Just like today. Globalism. There's a tremendous surge on the highest levels of government in the world, of the mega powers, the Western powers. What do they want? One world government. They want to create a Tower of Babel. To say, and what do they want to teach? Humanism, everything that, and a lot of it does not coincide with Torah, particularly on the level of gender identity and marriage, and certainly not relevant to Israel. They're trying to deny Israel's role, basically to exterminate Israel. And by doing that, they go against Hashem's will, because there's no other way to save the world except through Am Yisrael, as the teachers of the world, as the Kohanim for the world, wearing the holy begadim, to atone for the world's sins and to instruct them in the ways of Hashem. That's our job. Why did it say, Ki atem mamleches Kohanim v'goy kadosh? That was the reason why we got the Torah. We got the Torah because we should go live in Borough Park? We got the Torah so we can make another shtibel in Beit Shemesh? We got the Torah so we should be mamleches Kohanim v'goy kadosh, to serve as a role model to the world. And we are. You have no idea. You have no idea how much there's a thirst out there in the world for Jewish knowledge and wisdom by a lot of goyim. Tons and tons and tons of them. They want to know everything. They're going to come and start asking questions. They're already asking the questions. And you're going to know how to answer? You have to read every Aryeh Kaplan book. I'll get back to you on that one. They're going to want to know everything about Hashem and how that, and He runs the world and the spheros, and tell me about Yosef, and tell me about Kabbalah. Tell me about how does it work, and what do the mitzvos mean, and what am I supposed to do, and what are the Sheva mitzvos, and how do I do them, and I have this moral conundrum, and do I do an abortion or do I not do an abortion? I want to know. Tell me, what does the Torah say? They're going to be grabbing onto our tzitzis, the Gemara says, and to your shetels. They're going to be grabbing onto your shetels. Explain to me, what is this all about? What? Shabbos, what? They're going to want to know. And that's our job. To prepare to teach. And we are teachers, yeah.
But don't some of them learn it in order to turn it against us?
Yes, like everything, like everything else, like everything else. There's the bechira of good and evil. The ones that are choosing good want to know the truth. The ones who do not want to know the truth want to build a tower and shut the truth out. Shut it out. No, I've got the truth. I've got my own truth. My own truth of my own imagination, which is what it really is. The Eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra is really the idea of human imagination as opposed to what's reality. Right? How could you say about a person who feels that they're such and such a gender that they should go to this bathroom because they think that way? But it's not reality. It's imaginary. It's an imagination. I heard, by the way, last week from Moshe Weinberger. He was giving a talk on Friday mornings. He gives a shir, and he was sharing how sadly some kids at a young age who have a normal curiosity about their own identity, so to speak, and then maybe they have a feeling or a desire a certain way, and all of a sudden they have a support group
Yeah.
convincing them, starting at 11 years old, that they're this. And he says, by the time they get to bar mitzvah, they're convinced that they're this. It's because the power of the imagination and the Yetzer Hara have been so stimulated and so developed that they think this is the truth. And you can't tell them otherwise. That's pshat in the Yetzer Hara. But the reality is, Torah is very down to earth. Look at your biology. This is who you are, right? And your feelings are not as important as your actions. Lo hamedrash ha'ikar elaha ma'aseh. Your imagination is just that. It's imagination. Reality is, you have to do Torah mitzvos. You have obligations in the world, not fantasies and feelings. Fantasies and feelings are very, very nice. They have a place if you use them in the service of Hashem, but they are not reality. And this is the battle. It's a tremendous battle. Okay, so let's just finish up this idea.
What about the 300?
Okay, so let's finish this idea. So let's explain what happened here. So this is the 300 pieces of silver, and this is brought down by the Baal HaTurim in Bereshis. He makes a cheshbon of what the 300 pieces of he says that in Torah, the value assigned to an eved, if an eved is killed by an ox, I'm talking by a slave,
Eved Kanani?
Eved Kanani, you have to pay 30 pieces of silver. That's the knas. So he says the Yosef was sold at a discount because they didn't have a lot of takers. So they sold him for 2/3 of that. Okay? So in the Torah you'll see that Yosef was sold for 20 kesef. But he says really what it's a reference to is that they sold him into slavery. But since they were they were rushing to do it, they had to give a discount. That's the Baal HaTurim. So I wanted to suggest, if you take the Baal HaTurim, what is Yosef doing now by giving 300 shkalim to Binyamin? He's saying, all you guys are now my slaves. Right? Didn't they say, Hinin l'cha la'avadim?
Yeah.
Binyamin, I'm giving you the money because you were not involved in this whole parsha, right? Redeem them. Redeem them. Here's the money. Pay me back. Give me the money as a way of redeeming your brothers. Meaning, Binyamin, you are the source of redemption of your brothers. Through you, they will find redemption. Okay? Now,
You're saying this? Did you say
I'm adding to the Baal HaTurim.
Wow.
Since the Baal HaTurim said is that really what they sold Yosef for was 20 kesef, but it was really supposed to be 30 kesef, but they had to sell him quickly because they didn't have a lot of time, and they were rushed, so they had to offer him at a discount. Finals, it was a sale, seasonal sale. So now Yosef was kind enough to offer them redemption, to fix their problem. They sold someone into slavery, and therefore they became slaves. How do they get out of this mess? Binyamin, you're the key, and I'm going to help you get everybody out. And that was what Yosef did. Yosef got the brothers out of the big mess. He found a way to recombine them and reconcile them with each other and with himself. He reconstituted the Jewish people. There's a lot more to this, but that we can go into about, that's between Yaakov and Yosef in Parshas Vayechi. This doesn't take us to Parshas Vayechi, but the whole thing about how the brothers came and received their blessings and what the blessings were all about, okay, we'll go into that next week, okay? Because that leads us into Pesach more. Because that will lead us into the 12 Shvatim and to Pesach. But the bottom line is that, what did we learn today? By the way, the 5 is interesting also because there are 5 levels of the soul. The neshama has 5 parts. There's also Chamisha Chumshei Torah, however you want to explain it. But 5 really represents the neshama, right? What are the 5 levels of the neshama? Naran, which is nefesh, right? Ruach, neshama, that's the 3 lower parts of the soul. Those are the 3 parts of the soul that constitute a person. We in this world, we experience each other on 3 levels. Nefesh being our basic humanity, Ruach being our elevated selves, and Neshama is really almost not something that's relevant to this world almost at all. It's a much deeper hidden level of a person. And then there's the Chai Nechida, which is the root of the Jewish soul, Tachas Kitzei HaKavod. Those are the 2 upper parts of the soul, which don't even come to this world. We're like marionettes on a string. We're tied up to the Kisei HaKavod. That's why a Jew who's bashmutzt is never really bashmutzt, because 2 parts of their soul, 40%, never even came down here. So how can you say that they messed up? There's 2 parts that are absolutely perfect, and they're sitting connected to the Kisei HaKavod. You know, that's really the secret of tshuva also. Hashem does not allow the entire soul to descend into chet, chas v'shalom. And it's always redeemable because 40% is still, and the strongest 40% is still viable. It's enough to regenerate the neshama completely and totally. So that's what was happening here. And that was the story of Binyamin, and the Malchus of Binyamin was a regenerative state in which the Jewish people were revitalizing their core spiritual energies so that they would be prepared for the next stage of Geula. Much like Esther and Mordechai saved the Jews, so that then Ezra and so on can then go rebuild the Beit HaMikdash, which is a completely different level, right? Just surviving Haman is one level, but then going and building a Beit HaMikdash again and building a whole Jewish community and a Malchus Yisrael, that's a whole different level. But the first things first. First things first. That's why there's always Purim prior to Pesach. Because the Geulas Purim has to take place before we're ready for Geulas Pesach. And that's the period that we're in right now. And that's why we do Mishlach Manos Ish L'Rehu. Right? To break through any of those barriers. Because we realize, what was the famous statement? If we don't hang alone, we're all going to hang together. What was that phrase? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
We're all going to hang together anyway. Just like the sons of Haman hung together. When the Jews realize that when it comes down to it, we're all going to hang together. And when they get to that point and they say, there's Achdus Yisrael, and we have a purpose and we're all one, then we're unstoppable. Then the Geula can really start. And that's the avodah that we have. Okay? I'll do it for today. Thank you for listening.
What will draw in those Jews who are choosing to align themselves